Hi guys, quick update here for YouTube. It's 27th of October 2025. If you want to know more, just come and join the group. We are doing a 10% one-off, first come first serve discount code on the full version of the Masterclass, as well as the 3-month version of the secret Facebook group. The discount code for both of those courses is Masterclass, all uppercase. Let me just show you that here, all uppercase, and it's 10% off the 3-month and 10% off the full version of the Masterclass. That is first come, first serve. Usually when we have discounts, they are very rare because nothing of value is free, and we can't just give it away because it's unfair to those who have paid previously. But we do like to do limited discounts every now and then. Like I said, first come, first serve. Likely that'll get snapped up within the next couple of weeks. So Masterclass is 10% off the group and 10% off the full version of the Masterclass. And to add to that, if you were to join over the next couple of weeks, you also get free access to the mortgage amortization course, which I'm chucking in here. Part 2 of which we're hoping to get out. Well, I mean, it's been delayed now 3.5 years. 80% of the write-up has been done. It's very detailed. Goes into a lot more information. It's just a build on part 1 that should be ready, we hope, over the next 6 months or so. Currently I'm looking at a June 2026 release for that, but it has been delayed and a lot of people have been asking about it. We are going to get it out there anyway. So basically, if you're not in the group, you're missing some great calls. The big call this year was buying at 5k, which has been documented all over the group. We were all over this. We said, right, we're going to go to 666. That's our long-term target, right? I knew 15 years ago the Dow was going to go 40k. As it turns out, Dow's now going to go 50k, right? So that was the big call. Forget about where the S&P is right now, where it started the year. What was the big call of the year? Every year, you have to get the big calls right. This year wasn't about Bitcoin. We also covered gold, which I want to go into today shortly as well. I can't give too much away, but we'll cover gold too. We were talking about gold, talking about the China move, Nvidia, AMD, everything's documented all over YouTube. If you're in the group, you get access to the calls in real time. Obviously, these are not the charts which I share with group members. I can't give that away. So I open up a brand new chart and we just start all over again every time I do YouTube videos. But the big call for this year was, did you buy the S&P sub 5k when everyone else was getting worried about the tariffs and China this and Jet Li that, whatever? No one cares about the Lees here, right? They're all useless, Melissa Lee included. All we had to do was buy at 5k and we were looking for all-time new highs, and that was the big trade of the year. Can you make a double from that move? We went with SPXL, many went with SOXL. SOXL is now up nearly 7x from the lows, and I see no reason why it can't continue to charge higher here and basically tag this descending trend line, right? So that was the big call of the year, right? We're not just interested in crypto here. We are interested in basically making money, because no one is really, we're all just buying a number, really, right? All we're doing here, to state the obvious, is buying a number low and selling it high. None of us are on the board of, Apple, right? None of us are CEO of Nvidia, right? Even then, all the stocks are really owned by BlackRock and Vanguard ETF, by Street something, right? So, Vanguard and BlackRock basically own all the stocks, right? You're buying a lumber low and you're selling it high. No one cares if it's an altcoin, if it's Bitcoin, if it's gold, if it's whatever. What was the big call of 2025? Buying sub 5k. We were all over that and we profited massively from that. Obviously, would you be FOMOing in right now to the S&P? Probably not. Has it topped? No. We can't give away the exact target. We do have an exact time target here, but what I can give away for YouTube is that ever since we broke new highs and I assessed the positioning, the sentiment, I said, right, we're not going to top this year. It's less likely we're going to top this year. I still don't see a market top this year. So without giving too much away, we're going to top in 2026. We've always known from first YouTube video that we were going to top around late 25, 26. Obviously, are we going to, create that euphoric move going into the end of the year as the hedge funds, who are very much short, by the way, chase the moves on Nvidia, AMD, et al., Sam Altman, OpenAI, IPO. Yes, we're going to create that euphoria, that kind of euphoric verticality, but I don't see us topping this year. If we do top this year, it would be very, very late in the year. We're looking at a 2026 top. So where does the S&P go from here, right? Are we going to, is a grand super cycle crash coming from here? No. So our first target has been hit. Our exact target, which we can give it away now, is exactly where we are right now. And like I said, I don't want to give too much away because it's unfair, just giving away $1 million information. Because obviously these videos get leaked to major hedge funds who don't know what they're doing. They've missed the entire move, right? I don't see us stopping here. I see us breaking 7,000. And that's all I'm going to give away for YouTube. We're going to top in 2026 and we're going to break 7,000. Shorts at new highs create new highs. There's nothing more to be said. Now, one of the other really big moves, other than buying the S&P, was the call here. And once again, we were going for our favorite number here, which is very ominous with the stock market. Because, we spoke to the Qs. We were like, look, the Qs, they don't really like the S&P. The S&P basically had bottomed at 666 on March whatever it was 2009, known as the Haynes bottom. He was a famous CNBC commentator. Actually, CNBC used to have some very good commentators back in the day. Just now they're all a bunch of dweebs. So we spoke to the Qs and the Qs were like, actually, I want to do that too. I want to go to 666 too. So not only were we in the S&P, we said, right, we're going to go 666, and we're pretty much there. Our exact target was 640, 666. We're pretty much there. So there is still higher to go here on the Qs. And the Dow Jones, I said 50k, well, I said 40k, one of my first ever YouTube videos in 2017. Truth be told, I knew in 2010. Once I clocked on to what exactly was going on here, we said 40k. Obviously, it's impossible to forecast the market from 15 years ago when the Dow was barely 7k. But I see us going 50k. So there is no sign of an imminent top. Unless we go full retard. Robert Downey Jr., Tropic Thunder. Great movie, 2008. Highly recommended for anyone listening to this. Unless we go full retard rocket ship from here, yes, there is a theoretical possibility we could top around the quote-unquote holiday season, which starts in about 4 weeks' time. Have I seen that before in human history? No, I've not seen it. What I have seen is September and October tops. We speak about this in the group. When things are going to top is very important because everyone needs to leg it to their nuclear bunker and make sure they've got some heavy artillery on them, right? So I've not seen major tops occur in November and December. It's less likely. All that the holiday season does is create even more euphoria going into the top. Then January, the new money comes in, and then Houston, we have a problem. Apollo 13, Hollywood Studios, we're going to fake these moon landings, yeah? So looking at history here, and, we speak about this all the time in the group. Everything has happened before. Ray Dalio has famously made this quote. Everything that you ever want to know about the stock market has happened before, right? It's not just 1929, 1987, 2009, 1887, 1906. There's been panic and crashes, rigged and controlled, since 1776. All we need to do is study history. And I highly recommend, I forget the exact word of the name of the book here, something like Big Debt Crises by Ray Dalio. It was a book that came out maybe about 3-4 years ago now. So I highly recommend that book. I think it makes a great read. I've lost my train of thought. Yeah, so basically, I'm not usually seeing tops into Thanksgiving. And frankly, it makes a lot of sense. Anyone who buys anything stock market related post-Thanksgiving, 100% they're going to be bankrupt by first week of January, right? But we need that euphoria from Postman Pat and the Milkman. Right now, does Postman Pat have any idea that the Dow's going towards 50k? No. Do they have any idea S&P is charging towards 7,000? No. So just ask yourself, where is the euphoria within your friendship circle, within your work colleagues, within your local community? No one is talking about the stock market. Does it feel like 2007 property crisis peaks right now? No, it doesn't. Does it feel like tech bubble peak? No. Does it feel like 20k Bitcoin? No. Does it feel like 2011 silver move to $50? No. We don't have that euphoria. So like I said, unless we go full retard from here, vertical, yes, there's a theoretical chance we could top this year. I don't see it happening. Frankly, the holiday season will just bring in your local pop, mom and pop, who are getting bored of investing in crappy XOM mobile, and they're thinking, right, we have to diversify. The chase is real, FOMO is real, FOMO begets FOMO, and like I said, going back to the start of the video, any group individual, anyone who's running any kind of Discord group, Teachables group, whatever they are running, anyone who did not buy sub 5k, that to me is financially negligent. So if you're not in the group, honestly, you're missing out. Frankly, the group and the masterclass, it pays for itself. If you've got 5-10 grand, you go into a, that's like, right, you go in with 5 grand, made a double, SPXL, right, boom, that's it. That's the masterclass paid over by 3-4 times. That's about 3 years of subscription to the group. Anyone who did not buy the S&P or got bullish sub 5k, that's financially negligent, and we don't have time for jokers like that. For the 1% to win, 99% of people have to lose. Now, probably one of my greatest calls of all time. I mean, I've made so many here, but, that's what we like to do here, right? So, as we know, all over YouTube, all over Facebook, everyone's calling for a Head and Shoulders, including group members, mind you. And I said, no, I've seen this too many times. Head and Shoulders has an incredibly high failure rate. There's something bigger going on. Now, I said, world's most valuable company. Little did I know that it wasn't 4 trillion, it was actually going to be 5 trillion, and there you go. This still has not topped. You cannot short this. 5 trillion, 205, 223, I think it's probably shortable, top of my head, around 5.2, 5.3. Do I see it going to 6 trillion? Probably not. I don't see that, because the S&P and the Nasdaq and the Dow are getting very close to their targets. Now, AMD, we've been bullish on this as a adjunct almost to Bitcoin. There's lots of interesting targets here. We've been long since here. We caught the breakout. I don't see a top. That is a blue sky breakout, to quote, because that wasn't my quote, and it's important to respect quotes where you hear them. I'm actually quoting my main man, Charting Man Dan, from the Chart Guys. Now, I was actually a big fan of these guys way back in 17 and 18, and let me just Google them right now, because I don't know if they're still doing videos, to be honest with you. But I was a huge fan of their stuff. They used to do very basic stuff with candlesticks, but it was very, very effective. Obviously, the market has matured, and we teach. Oh wow, they are still on YouTube there. In fact, he did a video only recently, and he's a very cool guy. So, blue sky breakout, a very simple kind of situation here. We're breaking into new price discovery. We don't see this going higher. Obviously, the tools we use are slightly more sophisticated than just using candlesticks. To me, I see AMD charging higher here. We have exact, precise targets. I mean, technically, that could go into the 400s there on AMD. Yeah, so once again, AMD is just tagging along, riding the coattails of Nvidia. So from time of this video, right, we got to make it clear here, just in case this gets viewed 4 weeks down the line. At time of doing video, once again, if you're not in the group, you're missing out on all of this, right? You're missing out. You're buying the gold top. You're stuck in crypto, and it's a dead capital, dead time, dead money, and dead emotion, right? Market's very fast. You got to be in the right thing at the right time. At time of doing video, at 9 a.m. Eastern here, 27th of October 25, the market has not topped. AMD higher, Nvidia higher, S&P higher, Q's higher, Dow Jones higher. Obviously, next YouTube video might be for a year. I don't know, right? The market might have already topped and crashed 90% by then. But at time of doing video, the market has not topped. Now, let's cover commodities. Once again, we don't like to cover everything here on YouTube because it's unfair. Basically, we were looking for $50 on silver when it was in this consolidation here. We said there's one more wave up there. Nailed that call. We were also looking for $1,800 on platinum, and let's be honest, we were $30 short off that target. I see all of that as some kind of corrective BS. And we were looking for 4,000 on gold. Now, we know gold and commodities, mind you, they like to do extensions in their wave 5, which is pretty much what we've got here. So I think when gold was here, by the way, we said one more push up and we basically legged it out of gold. Now, to me, I think gold is risky. I think having anything to do with gold is very risky. That looks like to me a parabolic blow off top in gold. I don't see any momentum here, and we've nailed this call, and we've been out of gold now for about 1 to 2 weeks. We said, right, the top is coming, the top is in, and now there's no more momentum. Once the momentum dies, the options premiums die, there's less IV, and so there's less ability to make money. On a trading perspective, definitely. From an investment perspective, is it likely major smart money are offloading some of their physical at these incredibly high prices? Yes, probably. 100% I can see a situation like that. Now let's investigate on the lower time frames. Is there anything here that suggests an imminent, I'm talking about an imminent, I'm not talking about a 10,000 year return to the highs. I'm talking imminent, right? We are swing traders. We don't have 10,000 years to wait for gold to make a new high. Is there any evidence here, whilst it's shitting, it's sitting and shitting on a shelf? Yes, they could do a little bit of a short squeeze there. I wouldn't be surprised to $4,100. Do I see this happening? That is an unbelievable percentage. I just don't see that happening. To me, the top is in on commodities. The short-term top, the medium-term top, the yearly top. Where we go from here is obviously sideways or down. Either way, no one cares. Once the money comes out of a market, you have to recognize it early. Otherwise, you get stuck. You get stuck and then you don't know what you're doing, right? Do I dollar cost average? Do I add in here? Do I short? Do I hedge? Is it going to make a return? Is it going to make a return? Next thing you know, it goes back within this consolidation, which is very likely, by the way. All right, that's it. Gold's over. Does our retracement, right? That's it. Back inside gold. Next thing you know, it's down here. To me, it's now too risky to have anything to do with gold. I think it's a superb time. Well, I mean, once again, group members have had a great opportunity here to offload gold, because at the end of the day, you want to sell when you can and not when you have to quote a famous investor. Was it Mark Tepper? You want to sell when you can and not when you have to. And to make, to quote myself, you lose money on the entry, not on the exit, right? So, you're getting a near decade highs on silver here. What an unbelievable opportunity to offload silver, because we've been around silver for a while. Certainly I have, because I remember this very, very well. So is it not beyond the realms? I mean, is it really beyond the realms of possibility that we now have a major decline on silver and gold, right? Further than that, what is it, right? Just in case we all manage to survive the end of the world collapse in 2026. And this video gets watched in, I don't know, January the 1st, 2031. Is this a decade high in silver? Is it a decade high in gold? Right? So when you start speaking now in decades, and I have declared it, I think there's a very good chance the decade highs are in for these commodities. I don't see a world-ending situation where people fly to silver and gold, because since Nixon has come off the gold standard, everything terrible that's ever happened to the US, you can blame Nixon for most of it. You can also blame Christmas Eve, Woodrow Wilson signing a certain document in 1913. There are many things that have occurred here over the last 100 years which have shaped the world that we're in today. But going back to the gold standard, to me it's a paper asset now. We've come off the gold standard. Money is meaningless. Money is only written, is only holds value because everyone uses it and because you pay your taxes, right? Because you have taxes every single year, you're going to hold on to some US dollars, aren't you, right? So money really, everything's a paper asset. The real value of silver probably should be, I don't know, like $25,000. So it's all a paper asset. So I don't see why in a world-ending situation people would fly to these precious commodities. People would probably just sell everything. It would be a pan sell-off. Because we know Bitcoin, gold and silver, prior to when Bitcoin came on the scene, these were the real kind of extension wave 5 blow off tops, and then they led to huge decline. So to me, it's very much possible a decade top is in on gold and silver. So that's gold and silver. If you want to know more, come and join the group. Like I said, you're shooting yourself in the foot if you're carrying a certain amount of capital and you're not in the group. Because if you're just listening to GIMPs, then 2025 has been a bit of a waste of time for you, hasn't it? Now, and you can't only look at one asset. Now, Bitcoin, the overriding feeling is just a sense of frustration. Net, it's done nothing all year, let's be honest. And that's why, we said, right, as we do all the time, we need to be in other assets, right? Now, the best hope Bitcoin has had, we're certainly very cautious, right? We are overall cautious on Bitcoin. We said, right, a flat bottom, boom, it should do this, but it never did, right? It was just, we just got out of the way here. Something's not right. It's not tagging along the AI hype with AMD, and even Alibaba has been doing really well. Nvidia, S&P, there's clearly FOMO and huge flows coming into the S&P, and it's come out of gold. Sure, could we get a rotation out of gold and silver into Bitcoin? Yes. But is that really the signs of a major impulse to 150, 250, a million? I don't see it. So, what does that mean? Well, we're sitting and shitting once again on a shelf. This is effectively a volume shelf. Now, we are building some value here, sure, right? We've been consolidating here for a good couple of months. But just looking at the futures, there's not a lot of volume here. So if and when this fake little corrective move turns and it runs back down 107k, I see nothing to hit to 74k. I see nothing. And that's all I will say, right? Because you have to be very careful now. We're approaching, major tops here all over the place. And you have to be very cautious, I think. Whether you're in any market, even in the S&P. But thankfully for the S&P, because there's always a bull market somewhere, that is still going up. Bitcoin really hasn't offered anything, and I'm very disappointed because Bitcoin is usually a liquidity marker. If Bitcoin turns and runs back down through 107, things are going to get very, very ugly. And if they get ugly for Bitcoin, they get very ugly for everything else. Obviously, all the altcoins. You can't have Bitcoin at 72 grand, let's just say hypothetically, right? And Ethereum at 25 grand. You can't have those two things happening. It's not possible, right? When Bitcoin comes down, it's going to drag everything with it. So the key line in the sand here is somewhere between 105 and 107 if it starts to reverse and come back down again. Is there anything else here bullish that I see? Not really. We've gapped up here. China trade deal, Trump and Jet Li, this, that, and the other. No one cares about the Lees. They're all useless. They're all a bunch of gimps. And, to me, does that not look corrective? Yeah. I mean, you're really blagging it. And we've gone over the same thing again and again and again. When you're blagging a correction as a diagonal, you're leading into some problems. A leading diagonal, by the way, wasn't even an original Elliott wave pattern. It was more like in the 70s when we figured actually we need to come up with something here, because these impulses are not starting to look like impulses. They're starting to look very, very corrective. So that's when the whole leading diagonal came into it. It wasn't actually an original pattern. The ending diagonal was. So when we start blagging corrections as leading diagonal ones and start calling for silly ass targets like 250 and beyond, we have to be very, very careful. Most people listening to this have not been around like I have since '08. And frankly, since 2000 in some way, shape or form, most people are just too young, or plus or minus, they've not really researched into basically how to read a chart. So we have a problem here. Bitcoin was here, we said 116, we nailed that call. To me, if that starts to reverse now on high volume and it starts to fill this gap, next thing you know, it's at 107. And once this shelf at 107 breaks, this previous kind of support and resistance here, we do have some problems. Also, that does look quite deadly there. And if you were to just broaden your perspective here and look overall at this entire pattern, I mean, frankly, you could call all of that as a huge distribution, but certainly all of this, it definitely has more the hallmarks, I feel, of a distribution than it does of a reaccumulation. And obviously, it's been distributing for quite some time. That's an upthrust candle. That's an upthrust candle. That's rejected. That's a bit of a topping tail there. Then we've got confirmation of the downside volume, right? Look how heavy the volume is on the downside, and look how pathetic the volume is on the upside, right? Okay, so you can't really see it there in the 12. Let's put it down on the 1, right? Let's be honest, most of that high volume bars have been down. So on the OBV, it's definitely turning, and the volume is just pathetic. Are there real smart money buyers up here? You have to ask yourself that. I won't give too much away, but I would be very careful on Bitcoin. Frankly, I'd be careful all over the place, but at least the S&P is going up. So, I would be very careful. I don't see much here. This might very well be the end of the bull trap. If we reverse on high volume, take out 107. Now, it doesn't have to happen today. It might be a few days, might be a few weeks. We know Bitcoin can be slow, and then suddenly you get a huge move. Everything is going to come down with it. And there's not much support underneath 107. So that's Bitcoin. That's the group. Take advantage of the discount codes that we have is Masterclass, 10% off the 3-month and 10% off this. We've covered as much as we can do today on YouTube. If you want to know more, come and join the group.